All right, guys, so you don't have a willpower issue. You simply have a food volume issue. Let me explain. When you're trying to stay in a deficit, drinking your calories is going to make it so much harder to stay in your deficit throughout your day, simply because within 35-40 minutes you're going to be hungry again. Your body's processing it so quick and getting rid of it so quick, it's not going to keep you full. Okay, so when you're picking your food wisely, okay, when it comes to being in a deficit, make sure that you're picking food that's like whole food that is volume, right? So for example, you're about to finish the gym, you come home, instead of having a protein shake and, like, you know, some rice cakes or an apple, right? Have, you know, a big, you know, 60 grams of oatmeal with a scoop of protein, half a cup of blueberries, some cinnamon, some salt, honey, mix it all together, right? PB2, mix it all together. That's literally about 450 calories, right? And it's going to keep you full for way longer than a protein shake would. And you almost have the same calories if you're doing a smoothie, for example, and you're putting all that, you know, all that kind of stuff in there, and you're just drinking it. It takes literally 15 seconds to drink, right? Okay, let's say a minute to drink, and then you're going to be hungry. And going out, moving through the day like that, it's going to be very hard to stay in a deficit, especially if it's 11 a.m. and you're already down 700 calories, for example, right? So one little tip that helped me stay in a deficit for way longer throughout my days and making my days a lot easier and less painful, and I don't think about food all the time, is I have staple meals that are in my diet that I kind of don't have to think about it. I know what I'm eating, right? So if you have the same lunch or the same dinner or the same breakfast and the same lunch, for example, it will help you take away that fatigue, that diet fatigue, always thinking about, like, what am I going to eat? How much is in what is in... Guys, pick some staples that you love, that you like cooking or ordering, whatever. I recommend cooking your own food. If you didn't cook it, you shouldn't eat it. That's the motto I go by, simply because I know what I'm putting in my food versus if I'm buying it at a restaurant or something. You have a kid working in the back just throwing oil everywhere. Like, I don't know what's in it. I can't really gauge it. I don't like doing that. So having said that, cook your own food if you can. If you don't know how, learn. Okay, I've recently learned how to cook, right? I haven't cooked my whole life. I meal prep. Is that cooking? I don't know, maybe. But the point I'm trying to make is, if you're trying to just get the calories in because you're trying to hit your macros and you're not really thinking of what you're eating, it's going to be very hard to make good decisions and stay in a deficit throughout your entire day. You're making it way harder on yourself. So let's simplify it. Pick some staples that you like, right? And stick to them. So I'll give you an example. My dinner is roughly the same every night, and I like it that way. I'll have about 8 ounces of meat, so any meat, lean meat of my choice, either lean ground turkey, lean ground beef, or chicken breast or something like that. Then I'll have sweet potatoes or any type of potato, right? About 200 grams. Like 200 grams of potato, guys, is a lot of food, right? And that, again, that's going to keep me full. So that's the whole point here, right? And then I'll have some vegetables, right? Or a salad or something. So that's literally what I eat almost every night. So I don't have to think about that. I kind of know what it is. I know the macros. I know roughly how many calories it is. I don't have to think about it. Now, if you had staples like that for whatever it is that you like, that you enjoy, that is high volume food, right? That is not calorie dense or processed. Because processed, don't even get me started on processed. Guys, you can polish a whole Dorito bag. It's over 1,000 calories and you're going to be hungry in 30 minutes, right? There's nothing in there that your body's going to be like, whoo, thank you. I'm going to hold on to this. This is great, right? And so avoid processed food as much as possible, obviously, and try to stick to whole foods, okay? If you do those little tips, just that, you'll see it's not that hard to stay in a deficit throughout your day, because you're not going to be thinking about food. You're not going to have like the diet fatigue, and you're going to move through your day more full and not thinking about like, what's my next meal going to be like, okay? So here's a few tips that help me stay in a deficit, okay? Other than whole foods, right? The obvious that we just named is Sometimes, depending on the day, I'll push my first meal as far as possible. Now, I train in the morning. I have no issue training fasted. If you have any issues with that, then that's completely fine. Have a little, breakfast. But you can also, if you're working out in the morning, make sure that your breakfast is not a heavy breakfast before your lift. You want something with high carbs, right? A little bit of fat, not too much fat, and a little bit of protein, but mainly your carbs is the most important part before your workout, right? So, for example, 3 rice cakes, a banana, you're good to go. Or 2 rice cakes and a banana, you're good to go, right? Or a banana even, you're good to go. And for me that works, but depending on your style, right? But don't try to eat 500 calories before your workout, and then after your workout you're at another 500, and then it's 11 a.m. and you only have 1,400 calories left for your entire day, which is not a lot of calories when you think about it. Okay, but one thing I do want to say, when you're thinking about calories, whole foods, like the volume of whole food, is a lot of calories altogether compared to anything processed or anything like that is not healthy, right? So keep that in mind. Now, push your breakfast as far as possible. That will help you stay in a deficit longer, okay? Pick volume food, which we've said, that will also help. Drinking a lot of water, plenty of water, will keep you full. Try to drink, I drink roughly about 4 liters a day. That's kind of what I need. I do sweat a lot in the gym. Or my day-to-day, when my workouts are, I lift pretty heavy, and then my cardio sessions, I sweat enough, right? Or when I walk outside. So 3 to 4 liters is what I drink on a regular basis. But I always have, I always have it near me. I just fill it up and drink it. It's hard in the beginning. You're gonna go to the bathroom a lot, but your body will adapt and you'll get used to it, right? So, but it does help keeping you full. And it does help hydrate the body, and everything works better that way, right? Just think about it as oil in your car. You're not going to drive your car with no oil. That's crazy. You're going to blow up everything. The engine's going to go. It's the same thing when it comes to your body. Now, the last thing I wanted to say here, and I think it's very important. I think it deserves its own video, which I will do because it deserves its own attention, and it's super underrated, and that is walking. I know it sounds crazy and you've heard it a million times, but guys, walking is so underrated. If you're doing 3,000 steps right now, which is the average person working at a desk, try to do a little more. Try to park a little further than the entrance. Walk a little more. Try to take the elevator. Try not to take the elevator and take the stairs. Little things like that will go a long way. And if you're doing 3,000, try to get to 4,500, or try to get to 4,000 and then work your way up, right? It doesn't have to be crazy, but walking will definitely help stay in your deficit a lot longer without putting a lot of stress on your body, right? Now, that's something I do recommend for sure. So start doing that as soon as possible. Now, having said that, those are the main things that help me stay in my deficit, and I think they will help you if you're struggling, you're always thinking about food and staying in a deficit all day, okay? Let me know in the comments, if you are in a deficit, what calories you're trying to hit, what are your macros, and we can start a conversation, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care.